Welcome back to the program tonight. Now, ladies and gentlemen, they're at it again. Let's listen to President Uhuru Kenyatta at Nyayo Stadium the other day, on Labor Day.
Uko wapi? Badala ya kunisaidia kuondoa hiyo shida, wewe uko kwa soko kusema ulizeni ule. Basi si ungewacha uniwachie mimi nitafute mtu ambaye angenisaidia jameni. Wewe unajua hii shida sio ya mtu. Hii ni shida ya uko wapi wakati mimi nakuhitaji. Na ndio mimi nashukuru huyo mzee. Huyo mzee at least hata kama alikuwa na mambo yake alikuja kunisaidia.
There's a rejoinder I think we need to play.
Yes. So, but first, I think we need to take this back. There's a context to this, and the person who can best give us that context is you, Gashuri, because you were there. So this didn't come out of nowhere, even though it seemed to have. What triggered this this outburst again?
I think it is easy to see the anger in the president on Labor Day, but I would want us to walk back 2 days before, Friday and Saturday. The scenario at Nyayo Stadium during the state funeral of the late Mzee Mwai Kibaki, you could see there was something there. And then, of course, what happened? The
handshakes as well.
Yeah.
You noticed it was a, COVID-19 handshake for the deputy president, and then the
handshake for
handshakes for the rest. Yeah.
It tells something.
Yeah.
But also what happened in Nyeri. You could see politics both at Nyayo Stadium and at Othaya, but it played out more in Othaya. But remind you of a soundbite that the deputy president made in Nyayo Stadium, that the man lying here is the best president that Kenya has ever had.
We have that. Let's listen to that. Uhuruto on Kibaki being the best president.
A journey that made him a great scholar and the finest economist our country ever had. A distinguished public servant that rose through the ranks, both in the opposition and in government. And of course, the greatest president Kenya ever had.
Well, yeah.
See that?
Linus wanted to...
No, go ahead.
Okay. All right. Yeah, you look like you were waiting in the wings. All right.
If you analyze that statement, both in its literal and covert meanings, you could tell. I mean, here is the president seated next to the deputy president, and the deputy president
he has
says,
deputized
for 10 years, and says Mzee Kibaki is the best president that we've ever had. That was, I would say that was a jab. That was a direct jab. And then the following day in Othaya, that here is a man who understood best bottom up. Yeah. So you could tell. You could see where the punch came from.
Let's listen.
He became a great economist, he became a great leader, and of course, a great president and a father of the nation. If there is a demonstration of bottom up, we can learn from Mwai Kibaki.
Yeah, and of course, have we even talked about the crowds, both in Nyeri and at Nyayo Stadium, and particularly in Nyeri?
Yep.
So you could tell there was something. And you saw a lot of restraint on the part of the president in Othaya. He spoke, he gave a very short speech and direct to the point, eulogizing Mzee Kibaki, whatever I needed to say, I said yesterday, and so on and so forth. But it's also important to remember that in his speech at Nyayo Stadium, the president also said some very heavy things. If you were to analyze them, critically, and you could tell there were jabs also directed at the deputy president. And so it has now become routine that when you go for functions where the president is, you must be very attentive and listen to what he's saying, and then analyze it in context of who he could be talking about.
And what has happened perhaps in the last couple of days.
And as it were, the very next assignment or the very next function that the deputy president will be at, he will respond to what the president is saying. And I think this is what will be the scenario between now and the time we hold our elections.
Yvonne, I think there is no doubt in anyone's mind that the president and his deputy wamekosana kabisa. The final nail in the coffin is openly supporting Raila Odinga. And remember in Sagana 3, he said, huyu hafai kuongoza sasa, pengine baadaye. And it's clear that hapa mambo yamesambaratika, and whatever happens, I don't think in the next 3 months or so until elections that watasikilizana. And we've seen a lot of the fight in public. I remember your take about it, telling them that tumechoka wacheni. And I think that's at the point we are at now. Yes, there was that jab at the president at Nyayo Stadium and at Othaya. Ni kama kumchokoza kidogo. And maybe he felt that the funeral was not the right place to respond, and responded the day after immediately na kabisa kazungumza at an event where he had promised 12% pay increase. Maybe he felt this is the right platform for me to respond, not yesterday. But ndoa ilivunjika na ilikatika kitambo. I don't think nothing anyone says anymore will make it any better or any worse. And I think that's important to remember, because even if you look back at the president talking about matatizo ya alianza wapi, I think the first one was when he was speaking, I think at Bomas during the BBI launch, talking about passing the baton, where I think we have that soundbite. Can we listen to that soundbite?
Ni ile ya kuhandover, unajua? Si ndio? Inaitwa relay. Unakimbia ule mwingine anakugojea pale, anatakikana kukugojea ndio ashike aendelee, si ndio? Lakini sasa my brother William hapa amepinduka, anakimbia nyuma. Nikasema mosmos utafika tu.
But you know, I think, Jamil, I just wanted to add, at this time, you know, things were a little, but it wasn't that bad, you know.
It wasn't.
The deputy president was sort of laughing at it, going to whisper. But this was the beginning of it publicly deteriorating.
Yeah, that this is the reason why I have an issue with my deputy. The fact that he did not wait. Alianza mapema, kusema kwamba anataka kuwania wadhifa wa urais. Forget about kumi yangu, kumi ya William. There was that promise that was made years back. But then this was the point where I think Uhuru kwa kiasi fulani alifungua roho kuonyesha kwamba this is my issue. And he brought it up again, I think, during Sagana 3. Maybe we can listen to that before Linus comes in.
Tugeikara thĩ na tũkĩaria rĩ, na tũgĩcira rĩ, na tũgĩcira ona ũrĩa tũikarĩte nake haha, no ndĩramwĩra ũrĩa tũracira na mũthuri ũyũ na gĩtũmi ndiramũhitha nĩgetha akiuge nĩ gwĩkunga ndĩrekunga. Niĩ ndirekunga, ndiramwĩra mũthenya barigiti niĩ nĩ ngũthiĩ nĩ ũndũ wa gĩtũmi gĩkĩ nĩguo na akaiguithania naniĩ. Niona mũthenya ũrĩa ndathire Harambee House mũndũ wa mũico kwaranĩria nake nĩ ũrĩa tũikaranagia nake, ngĩmwĩra ndathiĩ na nĩ tũkũgeithania na mũthuri ũyũ na gĩtũmi nĩ ũndũ wa gĩkĩ.
Nasikia anasema alimwambia kwamba handshake tafanyika because
the claim
has been that I knew nothing about it, but he says I spoke to him and I told him this was going to happen. Wakati huo ndo ukosa ushaanza kuvunjika polepole, and I think everything that has happened since then has clearly shown us one step after another that this is ndoa that has vunjika na imevunjika kabisa. Nothing anyone says whether they have the public brawls again or they don't. Maybe this is the last one before the elections. This is not changing. This is it.
We can certainly hope that this is the last one. Yes.
Indoa Jamila haikuvunjika second term.
Ilianza huko.
Ilivunjika first term.
Yeah,
Tulianza kuona.
it just became visible and manifested. Linus, just when we think it couldn't get any worse, you know, it does, because even, and we can continue to speak as we show the Deputy President's response on Twitter. You know, he fired back a response at the President after, in fact, right on the same day, Labor Day, you know, celebrations, and we can just show that as we continue. It gets worse, you know, one says one thing, another fires back. One wonders, you know, when this all ends. Jamila says maybe it could be the last. We certainly hope so. But, you know, just when we think it stopped and it's gone, you know, here we are again.
It won't stop until it's over.
When will it be over, Lina?
It will be over on the 9th of August or thereafter, depending on how fast the election results will stream in. And it will end up, you know, either way, and either way it will be an end. But there is a context to what happened in the last few days, and the political oxygen, the oxygen that feeds political life, is crowds, people, adulation, public adulation, and something happened in Nyayo National Stadium and Othaya. Something happened in favor of Deputy President William Ruto, where the crowds cheered. And that's a political statement normally.
Yeah, and I think we can play that even as we speak.
Okay,
yes,
okay,
Ruto being cheered there. So
we can start with the Nyayo National Stadium.
Yeah, yeah.
His Excellency Samoei Ruto to also convey his remarks. Wananchi tunawaomba tuweze kutulia kwa heshima ya baba yetu. Your Excellency, the Deputy President.
Thank you. That was Othaya.
Yes.
The Othaya Approved School, where the official funeral ceremony was also taking place. And you could see just when the Deputy President was introduced, there was a lot of cheering. Now in politics and the Kenyan reality, cheering can be two-way. It can be spontaneous, but it can also be choreographed. So that debate is out there, whether this was spontaneous or whether it was choreographed. Either way, it's a political statement. When you go back to Nyayo National Stadium, let's just see the Nyayo National Stadium clip.
Maybe, I don't think we have it. We don't have the clip.
Maybe we don't have it. But similarly, when he was introduced, again, there was a lot of cheering. Politicians use crowds to make a statement to their opponents.
Their opponents, yeah.
And I think the statement here was from the Deputy President to the President, that, boss, I have people.
And I'm in your territory.
And I'm in your territory. And I have people. In 2002, when KANU party, which in it had Raila Odinga, Kalonzo Musyoka, all these other fellows, and including Uhuru Kenyatta as the presumed presidential aspirant, what happened was there used to be groups of youth that would come to KICC, where KANU, the National Executive Council, was holding meetings to chant rainbow, rainbow, rainbow.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, and you know, Raila Odinga will say after that, KANU ikicheza rainbow itakuwa chama. So as Moi was chairing the meeting, you could hear the chants outside, of rainbow, rainbow from the gates of, especially the City Hall side of KICC. This was a statement that, you know, ground, we are preparing. And this is what happened between President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy in Nyayo Stadium and Othaya. But here is another thing that can be used by the Uhuru side as a charge and an accusation against Deputy President William Ruto. Why do you want to embarrass your boss in his own backyard? Just reverse this and take that funeral, the state funeral, to Kapsabet or Eldoret, and then have Deputy President Uhuru Kenyatta being cheered in President Ruto's backyard of Nandi County. How does it sound? And you know, this is where the line of decency also goes missing in politics. And this goes straight into the charge of insubordination, the inability of the DP to respect his boss. Look at the tweet. Let's read the tweet.
Yeah.
Let's read the tweet.
Let's read the tweet of the Deputy President?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I think we have it.
Yeah,
Yes.
there we go.
Yeah.
He
Can you
says,
read it?
Sorry,
Yes.
my boss, I feel your pain. Those you assigned my responsibilities and Project Mzee have let you down miserably. They bungled our big four, killed our party, and wasted your second term. Wao ni bure kabisa, boss. I'm available, just a phone call away. Sadly, last cabinet was 2 years ago.
Signed?
Yule number 2.
Yulena, look at that. There is an element of contempt in this kind of communication. And this is just because the fight between Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto has reached a place where there are no rules. Now, it's anything goes. You take all the weapons.
It's a street fight, if you
It's, it's a brawl. It's very indecent. It's a complete ugly brawl, and the mud is being brought out. You can see now the confirmation that, you know, there is really no respect between these two. And let me say one more thing about my unfortunate interpretation of the whole thing. My unfortunate interpretation is there'll be people who would be asking, were President Uhuru Kenyatta and Deputy President William Ruto ready for the gravity of the offices of President and Deputy President? Because they have not conducted themselves to that high standard of those offices. Those offices are about restraint. And look, all through our history as a country, we've had difficult relationships between presidents and deputy presidents. And we used to call them vice presidents before the Constitution of Kenya 2010 elevated it to deputy.
Right.
And they used to have some level of decency below which they can't go. President Jomo Kenyatta and Jaramogi Oginga Odinga had the ugliest brawls as well. But they had a line below which they said... Like the
Kujibizana wasn't something that you saw in the public domain.
Except in that Kisumu 1969,
the Russia
October 25th event.
Yeah.
But when you go to also Mwai Kibaki, how was Mwai Kibaki treated? He was demoted. He was vice president, demoted to health minister. He actually took office and waited it out for the political environment to allow it for him to make the next move. And Kibaki never disrespected Daniel Arap Moi, even when he was in the opposition. In fact, there was talk of, you know, he's a project of KANU in the opposition during the 1992 election, when he came in, and the last minute whisper, which Francis will talk about around July, the last minute whisper in Mount Kenya was, you know, it should be Kibaki because Kenneth Matiba is not in a good state to assume office, even if he was to win. I mean, those are things we'll talk about in July. Now, the decency between the occupants of those offices. Look at even George Saitoti. George Saitoti was actually humiliated.
Oh my gosh.
Not
publicly.
once, but twice publicly.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. The first time was on the on the 18th of March, 2002.
Yes.
18th of March, 2002, KANU changed its lineup completely.
There comes the time.
Did what KANU did in 1966 by now expanding the position of vice president to many, you know, create 5 more, you know. And Ronald Ngala became vice chairman of KANU. Uhuru Kenyatta became vice chairman of KANU. I think Kalonzo Musyoka became... there were two more. Basically, KANU expanded the position so that you dilute the power of the vice chair of KANU. And you may remember from clips, Francis, where Professor Saitoti was protesting, and he was told, Tulia, Professor.
Yes,
Tulia.
And was told about Siasa and
yes,
how
that is the day he made that the Akama
time
speech. The second time was in Kilgoris, my hometown, when the president came there sometime in August 2002, now a few months to the election, and said, Saitoti, ni rafiki tu. It's just a friend. There is a difference between friendship and leadership.
Leadership, yes.
So I thought he did not run a campaign, yet he had the possibility and opportunity in Masailand to say, I am the MP for Kajiado North.
You can't
I have
talk
served
to
the
me like
Masai.
this. Yes.
He could have mobilized a lot of Masais to chant and even perform very interesting dances there just in his favor. But you don't embarrass your boss that way. So there are two things. He might have scored politically, but he also illustrated a level of disrespect and contempt for Uhuru Kenyatta in Nyayo Stadium and Othaya.
So doesn't look like we'll see the end of this. I think you said until August the 9th, when hopefully it puts it to rest, or maybe, it'll be a different dimension depending on, what happens, who wins, and we wait to see. But certainly it is something that is getting tiring.
One last thing,
sure. Yes,
one last thing, Yvonne. You see, the first proper occupants of the presidential system, as outlined in the Constitution, is the President Uhuru Kenyatta, and his deputy, William Ruto. So you can imagine the lessons that the next pair of the presidency will have to learn from the current pair of President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy. And I don't think they have done a very good job at it in terms of that relationship, because the assumption is that the president and the deputy president will work together. Even when they disagree, they will find ways of settling their disagreements and their disputes.
Because the presidential candidate picks the running mate.
Yeah.
It is their choice.
It is their choice.
Yeah.
And
or so we would imagine.
And also, this is somebody you believe is the next president in the event that you're absent, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And so I think this is also something that the next pair of the presidency will have to take care of. Even the choices that are being made now, the choice of a running mate, I would think it is one of the factors to be considered. I looked at some of the factors.
They have this relationship in mind as they're making that selection.
I looked at some of the factors that are being considered, especially, for example, by the selection panel in Azimio, and one of them is something they're calling loyalty. Number two, subordination. Somebody you can work with and not compete with. I don't know how possible that will be, because at the end of the day,
people have ambitions.
People have ambitions.
Yeah.
And so how to tame the ambitions, or is it a question of balancing
and
the
also
ambitions?
loyalty? Surely things change as you go along. I mean,
Absolutely.
You're loyal today, but tomorrow interests change and things become different. Can we end this
Yes,
now?
we can.
Do you want to?
We let Gashuri end the show.
Do you want to do the formality?
We are taking this
tradition?
home.
Yes, yes.
Gashuri amepona flu.
Yes.
Wacha tuanze leo.
Very nice.